Hi, everyone, and welcome. We're your hosts. I am Justin.
And I'm Challie.
This podcast is a space where we explore practical ways to nurture your mind, body, and spirit to create a happier and healthier life.
The content of this podcast is intended for informational and educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for professional mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Listening to this podcast does not establish a therapist-client relationship. If you are experiencing emotional distress or mental health concerns, please seek support from a licensed therapist or a qualified healthcare provider.
Welcome back.
All right, so today we wanted to talk about boundaries, specifically boundaries in the workplace. But first and foremost, we wanted to talk about why it is important for, at least for us, to have boundaries put into place.
Probably anybody.
Really anybody, yeah.
So why do you think it's important that we have them?
I think it's important to remember you spend, a third of your day at work. So it's a big chunk of your life that you spend at work. And burnout, I feel like I would be wrong if I said someone didn't experience burnout in their life. Like everyone has experienced feeling burnt out, right? I know for me, I've had jobs where I did not have any boundaries and it was exhausting. The burnout was real. I dreaded going to work. And also there was zero work-life balance.
Because that's what makes it worth it. Going to work, we should be able to live some sort of life outside of that, too.
For sure.
Okay.
So, I feel like a broken record, but my view on this really changed when I had my son. Before, as a single woman in my 20s, like, well, what am I doing? I can work all the time and have no boundaries. It is what it is. But yeah, once my son was born, it was really important for me to start figuring out how to implement these boundaries.
And that's really important because your life changes at that point. And it doesn't always have to be a child. It can be entering a relationship. It can be taking care of a loved one. There's so many different things that show up outside of work that really make it important. And the opposite side of that, when we have healthier boundaries, it allows us to show up better at work as well, rather than bringing everything from our outside life into work. It works both ways in that sense too. So we can show up better at work if we're practicing good boundaries.
Yeah, 100%. If you take a vacation or a long weekend, you feel it. You come back to work and you're like, all right, I'm refreshed. I'm ready to go. But really, that's how you should be feeling every day going into work. You should have those boundaries. Let's talk a little bit about boundaries and I guess how we maintain our boundaries as therapists.
So maybe going over first kind of what types of boundaries, so being more porous boundaries or more rigid boundaries. So porous boundaries being more going out of your way of doing things always because you feel like you have to, because you feel like it might be your worth at employment or your worth in general. So you overextend yourself. You're going out of your way to do things for people, maybe even sometimes when they don't need it. Also having porous boundaries, we probably don't know the word no. So we just take on more and more and more. And then it's traveling home with us. And then more rigid boundaries are being the boundaries that we have a guard up. So there's nothing getting past this. Our instant reaction is no. We're not sharing any bit of ourselves. We're not sharing even our professional life. We're really closed off and everything is so separate. So it's on a spectrum. So being, healthier and less healthy, we want to fall somewhere in the middle. There might be different relationships at work that we are a little bit more porous with, but can still be healthy. What do you think is a really important part when we're establishing boundaries?
I think just being upfront right off the gate. I don't want there to be any confusion. I can give a great example that I just recently started doing during initial assessments. First time I meet a client, I will leave them with my card and that has my business cell phone number on it. I will always say to them, the best way to reach me is text. Everybody texts now. Here's my number. And then I will say very clearly, I am not an emergency resource. This number, I want you to use it if you need to reschedule. If there's a question, I really use it for scheduling. But I am very clear with them that I am not an emergency resource. Do not call or text me in an emergency. I make sure they have that resource, which is on the back of my card, is all the emergency numbers. And then I also make sure I say, I also cannot provide any type of therapy via text. So if you are going through something, if maybe we don't have an appointment for a couple weeks and you're just feeling like you need some additional support, 100% text me. And then when I can, and I usually say, give me 48 hours, I will try to get back to you to schedule something if I can.
So you even put in a time frame to have it be realistic of when you'd be reaching back out to someone.
Yes, because I feel like in this age, everyone has their cell phone on them all the time. So it is just a thought that you're going to get immediate responses. And I've had people get upset when I don't respond right away. And it's like, nope. I am working on my boundaries. I tell people that though. I straight up tell them, I too am working on my boundaries. And this is a boundary that I'm working on, is separating work life and home life. So if I'm home, I usually do not answer work related messages. I'll wait until the next day. So that's something that I've been putting into place. But it's, if I don't say it up front, then I feel like I'm backpedaling. But I learned from trial and error, because at first I was a people pleaser and I was like, this is my cell number. Text me anytime, anything you need, text me. I'm here for you. But yeah, no, that was not conducive to me, because then I was getting messages all the time. And then I felt like I had to respond because I'm like, well, I told them that I was here. I have to respond. And then I felt, selfish and guilty. But then I stopped and thought about it. And I'm like, this is not conducive to them, because part of therapy is you need to be out on your own. You learn the resources, you learn the techniques and resources, I guess, and then you utilize them.
I know for me, that is something that had become just such a statement when I was ending a session was, let me know if there's anything that I can do, or let me know if there's anything that I can help with. And then that kind of set a false precedence of I was that resource for emergency. I then would have all the answers of anything that you come up with. Through trial and error, had found out that that wasn't the most appropriate statement, because there are things that I can't really help with, especially outside of work hours. If someone is contacting me in a time of emergency and it's after the time that I'm in the office, that person could be still expecting a call back, could be expecting a response, and might not be looking at other options. So I love that you set that boundary up front of, this is what I'm available for. This is around the times that I'm going to be available for it, and setting some really clear expectations. I think that's such an important part when we're talking about boundaries, is to be realistic about it. So then you can maintain it too.
For sure. And my clients know I work weird hours. I work late some nights. Some days I don't. Like, my hours are all over the place. So I always say to them, like, definitely reach out. It doesn't matter if it's a day or time that I'm not working. Reach out. The worst that's going to happen is you're going to have to wait until the next day. I do give them that so that they don't have to memorize my work schedule, because I can barely memorize.
It's giving that availability of, you can reach out whenever, but having a realistic response time, I think, is so important with that. So when you have someone who might be in more need, how do you go about setting that boundary and then maintaining that boundary afterwards?
I remind them and myself what my role is. I'm an outpatient therapist. I'm not an emergency crisis counselor. I tell them, but it also helps to remind myself, I'm not that person. I'm not good in a crisis. Like, I'm not. I do not handle crisis well. And I will be totally honest with you. That's why I'm not in crisis counseling, is because I know my limitations and I wouldn't handle it well. So I am very upfront and I say, I'm not a crisis counselor and I will not be of any help to you. That's why I love that my cards have that on the back. So I can literally just flip it over and be like, these are your resources. You have the 988 number. You have, the local crisis team. Like, it's all listed there.
I think that's something that's so important, because we don't want to also then provide that expectation that we can cover everything. And I think we want to. I mean, we want to go to the ends of the earth to make sure. I like that you said that there's a little reminder for you as well, that, okay, when I'm explaining this, I can remember what falls within what I can do. So then you're not overextending yourself, because when we try to cover everything, we try to be the crisis counselor, the therapist, the trauma therapist, all of the different things, we don't do all of them well. So reminding ourselves what we do really do well and where those strengths are, I think can be so important also. So that's kind of a built-in piece that you do with giving those expectations of what the boundary looks like. It reminds you as well.
Mhm. But maintaining them is hard. Like, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it. You have no idea how many times I have gotten a text message at, like, 9 o'clock at night. Guys, I'm old and I'm pregnant. I go to bed at, like, 8, okay? But I have gotten messages at, like, 9 where it's like, "Hey, I really need somebody to talk to. Can you call me?" And it, like, physically hurts to have to be like, "It's 9 p.m., it's a school night," like, I cannot respond. I have to remind myself, they have the resources, they know what to do, but it hurts and it's hard. It's not boundaries, we're talking about it, and it's like, "Oh, it sounds so easy, you just set boundaries and then you stick to them and then you're good." It sucks.
Boundaries come up a lot as a buzzword, and it's explained so simply. Like you just express what you're going to tolerate and what you're not going to tolerate, and then you just keep it at that. It's much more complex than that because
Mhm.
nothing in this world is black and white. So you might get that text at 9 o'clock at night, and you accidentally do read it, and then it's like, oh my goodness, do I need to respond? Okay, no. This is the expectation that I set as well. If I push that, then I'm opening that door to have this happen more often.
That has happened. That's where I've learned
Yeah.
from, is because I responded right away to, like, a message at 7, and then, they're getting later, and so I finally had to just say, like, "No." And I tell people, I do not respond immediately, so it's not like you're texting your bestie, although shout out to my bestie, she never responds immediately, but I'm just saying, like, I do find it so much more helpful to let people know upfront what the boundaries are. It makes me feel better too, because then I can give myself a little pep talk and be like, no, they know that I might not answer. They're okay. They know what to do in an emergency.
And to be fair, a lot of the population that you work with are kiddos. So thinking about that piece, it can be even tougher to set that boundary. We want to be there for them. But thinking about moving forward, this might be developing one of their first really healthy relationships.
Mm-hmm.
We live in a very here and now society. So it can start to break some of that of knowing that, okay, maybe I'm not going to get an immediate response to everything. There might be a waiting period, and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's okay. You can sit in that. We're talking about crisis. People may define crisis a little bit differently. Thinking about that, not that it's any less for that person, it can be full crisis in that moment because that's what we're experiencing. But sometimes giving a little bit of that time, someone can then learn those skills to work through that crisis through their own coping skills. When we are looking at that immediate response, I want to do it more for the kiddos because, well, I don't know what they're going through. That could also be setting an unrealistic expectation for what they're going to have moving forward. And in other therapeutic relationships, a doctor's office does not respond within 30 seconds.
That is also what I remind myself. I do. I remind myself all the time, like, how many clinicians do you text, right? So that in and of itself is a really cool thing that I offer. So, right. But if I message my doctor through my chart, I'm not getting, an immediate response. So I do remind myself of that a lot. It is interesting what you said about defining crisis too, because I find a lot with teenagers in general. And listen, that's like my favorite population. I love them. But I do find that they are still growing and learning how to label a crisis.
Yeah.
And I have had that happen where I've had them reach out to me late at night, and then the following day I will follow up. I feel better when I
Yeah.
hear what their crisis is, because I still feel a little guilty leaving them.
Have you seen that they have then been able to work through a little bit of what that was? Okay, in the moment it was really tough, but I was able to get through it.
Mhm. I have, and
Okay.
it's a very good feeling, but also then it opens the conversation of, all right, well, remember what we talked about a little bit about, you texting me, and you totally can text me. That's fine, but just don't expect the immediate response. Honestly, with my kids and teenagers, it's actually a lot easier to get the point across
Really?
yeah, because, like, I feel old. Guys, I'm really not that old, but, like, I feel old. But to my kids and teens, I'm ancient. Like, I am so old. So it's very easy for them to understand, like, oh, yeah, she's old. she's in bed or like she's old. Like she might not even know how to work her cell phone.
But builds in a little bit of grace for you then.
Yes, I go to bed early.
Mm.
I do. I'm sorry. I go to bed early, but
This obviously applies to adults as well, but when we're thinking about this with the kiddos, social media is a really, really big thing. And this is
ooh,
actually something we talked about in supervision not too long ago.
yes.
Or what are some ways that we can maintain some boundaries with social media,
Oh my gosh, social media. Definitely another gray area.
especially with us having a podcast now?
That
It
is true.
it changes it up a little bit.
Yep. Very rarely have I had any type of interaction via social media. It doesn't really bother me. I know other clinicians are very like guarded with their social media. First of all, I'm boring. I'm really boring. Sorry, guys. There's nothing fun on there. My Facebook's private, but even if it wasn't, it's boring. I don't feel like it's the end of the world if one of my clients finds my social media. I don't. In this day and age, like we can find anybody on anything. And if I were to stress about it, it would stress me out. I have had a couple of times where a client, like a teen client, really needed to get a hold of me and had no other way to reach me. Their phone isn't working or they don't have a phone. They only have a tablet. I don't have Snapchat. So I do not use Snapchat. But like they might, I don't know, message me on Facebook and just say like, "Hey, my phone is broken. I had no other way to get a hold of you. I didn't want to no show my appointment, so I'm sorry that I had to reach out on Facebook, blah blah blah." Like all this, I'm just like, "Okay."
That's almost a good navigation of resources too.
I mean, yeah.
They made an attempt to be able to problem solve. Is it maybe the most ideal? No. You're able to then have a conversation about that too of, hey, I appreciate you doing this and reaching out. If that's something that you're comfortable with doing or moving forward. That's the conversation that you can then have considering the specific circumstances.
Yeah.
Because it may not be an across the board thing. We're talking about this thinking about like friend requests and things like
Mm,
that.
I've gotten some friend
Yeah,
requests.
I think you're able to then have that conversation about it, and it doesn't have to be this like big, scary, terrifying conversation. It can
No.
be simple and, hey, I just want to remind you of what the relationship is or
Mhm.
where these boundaries lie. Something that I think you do so well, and I really appreciate this, is that you have a professional page
Mm,
and then you have your personal page. And I think that makes so much sense that it gives you some more access because when we're, working in mental health, there is a lack of access at times. Someone may not have a working phone number. So to be able to reach out to you potentially on that professional page is a little bit different than viewing your personal page. So I think that's a huge strength that you've set up to kind of build in some of that boundary also.
Yeah, but I feel like kids, teens, young adults, they also look at social media differently, whereas my husband on Facebook has like 60 friends. Like that's it. If he doesn't personally know them, he doesn't add them. But kids, I mean, they're just, I'm sure they would be friends with their pediatrician if they could be. They don't see it that way. So just kind of being cognizant of that. But I've gotten a couple friend requests where I've had to then, during the next session, I don't ignore it. I'm just like, hey, so I did see that you requested me on Facebook, but ethically, I just feel like it would be better if we did not have a social media friendship. And then I'll say, like, but listen, I have a business page. So I'll say, like, if you want to follow my business page, and then if there's any updates professionally, you can see them. Everybody's been super cool about it. I get it. Well, they requested me on Facebook. I told them I can't be friends with them on Facebook, and that's it. I've never had any weird, like, pushback or anything.
I appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah.
I know coming from the background of substance use, it was a little bit different. I was working with adults. And so there was a little bit more priority of the security. So I always made sure my page was private. In general, I think I'm pretty mindful of what I'm posting
Hmm.
because I think that rule applies just the sense of, I mean, anytime we're posting anything, it goes out there for the world to see. So I want to be mindful of what I'm posting to begin with.
100%. I also am.
Yeah. So I know some people within the field had some poor experiences with social media and people reaching out to them. I definitely understand that. But I do think a little bit younger generation now, social media has a different perception. It is probably less intrusive than what it used to be. Whatever we put out there is accessible one way or another. So I think it's just being mindful of where our own comfortability lies in that
Yeah.
and making sure that we're not putting ourselves more at risk than what we want to be. I think we can prevent some of that.
Mhm.
So,
For sure.
what about with coworkers? How do boundaries work with like colleagues or coworkers?
Hmm. My gosh, that's a hard
So I'm
one.
thinking,
Okay,
I
you tell me.
know myself, I definitely fall into those people pleasing tendencies. And so I want people to think that I'm doing a good job. I want to show up and do the best that I can. Sometimes I've overextended myself on that and I have taken on too many things because I see this person has a lot on their plate and I can do that really well and I can help with that. But you do that too many times and you're no longer doing it well because you have way too many things on your plate. I think there's always going to be a demand, especially when we're working in human service, mental health. There's always a demand to do more. There's always a want to do more. We have to be mindful of what we're putting on our plate because that's going to impact the way that we're able to accomplish those things on our plate. I know for me that I've had to be really mindful of what I'm taking on. Is it realistic that I can take this on? Also, learning the word no.
My favorite thing that I have started doing is, can I think about it and get back to you tomorrow? Yeah.
How'd you start that?
I don't know. Um, because I was just being a yes man,
Yeah.
and I was in previous jobs getting so burnt out, and then I would take on all these extra roles, so then my actual duties weren't getting done. And it was exhausting, but I really suck at saying no. When somebody needs help, like, we're in a helping profession, so obviously we wanna help. So, yes, I have started doing that. If somebody asks if I wanna take on something, I will say, "Let me think about it and get back to you tomorrow."
Because that knee jerk reaction is to say yes. Okay.
100%. Yep.
Does that come from probably that people pleasing pieces? You're
Yeah.
asking me, then of course I want to.
Mhm.
Okay. Wow. So being able to say it's not a no, it's not a yes, but
Mhm.
I gotta think about this. I gotta make sure that it works.
And also, I feel like it's a red flag if somebody comes to you and asks if you can do extra duties or whatever, and they need to know right that second. Unless it's something like, hey, can you quickly come help me with my computer or
Maybe like
something?
a one-time thing.
Yeah, but if it's like, hey, can you take on this additional role? And you're like, can I think about it and let you know tomorrow? Any type of like negative reaction to that, I feel like is just a red flag. Why would you not want the person to really think about it and make an informed decision? It's red flag. Like, it's because they want that knee jerk reaction of, you're feeling peer pressured and you're going to say yes. If you go home and think about it, you might realize that it's too much. So I always look at it. So I have used that line a lot in my current profession, and never, ever, ever have I been met with any type of like even snarky. It's always, oh my gosh, of course, take all the time you need. Let me know if you have extra questions. Like, I feel like that's important too. And it's a big tell if somebody's trying to rush you into
What a
making,
different perspective.
yes.
It's because then that allows you, like you said, to make that informed choice or that informed decision, I think you had said. And that allows you to know if you're gonna do it well too.
Hmm.
Because if we are instantly reacting in the moment, we don't even know if we can do that well. If we are taking on something new, it takes some level of commitment.
Yeah, for sure.
Very interesting.
Can I think about it and let you know tomorrow?
And that can apply, it does not have to be just in the helping people. This can apply across the board.
I use it a lot.
Hmm.
I do, even in my personal life now. If somebody asks if I can do something and it isn't time sensitive, I've gotten myself into the habit of saying, "Can I think about it and let you know by tomorrow?" And even if I think about it for 30 minutes, like, and I'm like, "Oh yeah, no problem." I always just give myself that time.
Yeah, I know you've talked about it, recovering people pleasing. I can definitely so relate to that, where it puts me in some discomfort to not give that answer right away. And then
Yeah.
I can spiral and almost think like, what's going to happen if I don't do it? Are they going to think less of me? Or is it going to impact my potential or the opportunity? If it does, then it does for a reason. So kind of back to that piece of it being a red flag. If that's all we're being judged on, or if that is the only thing that we're bringing to the table is that we're a yes man, and someone doesn't want to give us that opportunity to think about it a little bit more, that might be that red flag that, wow, oh, they're used to me always taking this on. They're used to
Mhm.
me being this yes man. And that can start to identify where we need to implement a little bit bigger of a boundary to make sure that we are protecting ourselves.
Mhm. There was a place that I went one time, and they had a sign, and it said something about, "Don't ever say that's not my job, because that is arrogant and shows you're not a team player." And I struggled with that because I was like, "No, I don't think that's accurate." I think in certain situations, you do need to set those boundaries of, "No, I'm sorry, that's not my role."
Yeah. There can be a different way of saying it than that's not my job. It can be that's outside of what I'm really supposed to be doing, or that's going to
Mhm.
take focus off of what I really need to accomplish.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
And I get the premise of it is if you walk by something on the ground, don't say, "I'm not picking it up. It's not my job." I get that. But I feel like that really resonated with me because I'm like, we need to set our boundaries and
Yeah.
our roles. And it's the same thing in our job. I am a therapist, I'm not a care manager.
I love that you say that.
s- there are certain things that can I do them? Yeah. Would it put extra stress on me when it really is the role of someone else? Yeah.
I like that you brought up the fact of like picking something up or maybe like refilling the paper towels when we see that they're out or something like that.
Hmm.
That's not really applying to those things.
Exactly.
It's not applying to those really simple things of just helping out and being a team player and enjoying the place that we're working. It's when we're getting more and more things put on. And then we're no stranger to this. There's a staffing shortage in a lot of places. So that really creates that culture of, well, if I don't do it, then I'm not a good team player. What if you've been coming in and doing the best that you can every day and you're just trying to make it by and you can't take on anything more? That would make me feel uncomfortable or maybe undervalued of, oh, because I can't take on this one thing, I'm not a good team player anymore. I think that's something that applies across the board. And this can kind of come outside of that professional life with those friends that are asking us to do a lot of things. We feel obligated to do it. Doing things out of obligation
Yep.
never really makes us feel good.
It doesn't. You're totally right. Have we ever actually said yes impulsively for something we probably should have said no to? You're right. It doesn't make us feel any
We
better.
pack our plate too much. We pack our schedule too much. We overextend ourselves. Well, thinking about this, what normally goes to the back burner when we're extending ourselves or we're saying a yes man?
Self care.
Self care.
Self care goes out the window.
Whether it's we've been taught or this is what we've developed that ourselves come last. And that's not fair
Mm-hmm.
because we can't pour from an empty cup. We have to be doing well in order to show up and do the things that we want to well.
For sure.
So that self-care piece is self-care is not selfish. It is so important.
It's necessary. It is 100% necessary. It is not selfish. Your work life will be so much better when you find a balance. I hate early mornings, but I love getting up in the morning. I'm excited to go to work. I'm excited to see my people. I just love it because then at the end of the day, I shut everything off and I really get to just spend time at home with my family and just chill. So that way the next day I'm excited to go to work again. I'm not ever like dreading it. And I've had jobs where I have just like I roll out of bed at the very last second. And listen, I still do that sometimes, but for different reasons. But I'm saying like I just dreaded going. I knew it was going to be awful. I had an awful day. And then I take it home with me and then I'm miserable and it affects my personal life and my relationships because I'm just freaking miserable all the time. And like I've been there. And that's why I feel like I say this in every episode. I'm so thankful and grateful for the place that I am working now because it is so person centered, family oriented. Like those things are very, very important to the whole practice and it trickles down and it's so nice.
What a difference in some of the other employment experiences you've had. And I can relate to that of waking up in that dread, that deep dread. I love what I do, but I don't love what I'm doing right now
Mm-hmm.
because it is taking too much out of me. That has then impacted my family life, my relationship.
Yeah.
That definitely impacted my self-care because I was so exhausted from overextending myself that the last thing that I wanted to do was think about doing something for self-care. So I'd catch myself like scrolling aimlessly or doing the things that I thought were making me feel better, but it
Hmm.
was just to not focus on what I was bringing home with me.
Yeah. And it will catch up with you. I mean, if you don't take the time voluntarily for yourself, your body will force you to take the time. Like you will get sick, you won't feel good. Eventually, you can't maintain it. It'll catch up with you.
And the more and more we ignore that, the bigger and bigger that problem becomes.
Yeah, 100%.
I think when we live in such a here and now society, it's hard to think about how those things compound. But if we're going to work week after week after week and we're really struggling, we're not having any of that time to replenish. It's going to take us out. Our body's going to require us to take some rest so we can do it in an enjoyable way or we can do it in the forced way.
Yeah, 100%. That work-life balance is very important when you're looking for employment. And I am happy to see that it is more of an advertisement for jobs now is like great work-life balance because employers are seeing that that is getting more and more important with the up and coming generations, as an old lady say. But it is really refreshing to see that.
It is. Because it just benefits us. I know we said it in one of the other episodes, but the more that we are able to take care of ourselves and take care of ourselves out of work, the better we're going to show up in work, the
Mm,
more productive we're going to be. If that's something that we really value and we want to show up to work and we want to do the best that we can, when we're pouring from overflow, when we're pouring from a full cup, we're going to be able to do that. And then we're going to not resent it either.
yes, 100%. Yep. That was a good topic.
But great topic, but professional boundaries, they can apply all over the place. Doesn't matter what field when I say that. It can be in all different fields, but us having to maintain ourselves and to prioritize self-care and prioritize us
Yeah.
is so important. So thank you guys. If we have any comments or anything we would like to go over additionally, please leave us a comment.
Yeah, let us know if we didn't touch on any like important boundary setting things, maybe something that you guys do in your own jobs or careers that you find helpful. Comment them because we would love to hear it. And we will see you next time.
Thank you so much for joining, guys.
Bye, guys.